Commander Alex Daniels took a deep breath as she adjusted her uniform. Today was the day humanity would finally step onto the galactic stage. Through the viewport of the Earth exploration vessel, Horizon, she could see the massive space station that served as the Galactic Council headquarters. It hung in orbit around Nexus Prime, glittering like a jewel against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. "How do I look?" she asked, turning to face her small team. Science Officer Paul Martinez gave her a thumbs up, like someone who's about to make history. Cultural liaison Lisa Wright nodded in agreement but couldn't hide her nervousness. "Remember, Commander, most species greet with open palms facing outward. No sudden movements." Security Chief Sam Bennett checked his sidearm one last time before securing it in its ceremonial holster. "And remember that we're not technically welcome. We're just tolerated observers according to their last transmission." Alex nodded. Humanity had been granted observer status only after the Council discovered Earth's transmissions 3 years ago. It wasn't an invitation born of friendliness. It was more like being called to the principal's office. "Let's show them that humans know how to behave," Alex said as the airlock began to cycle, "even if they've already decided we don't." The doors slid open to reveal 2 tall, blue-skinned aliens with elongated limbs and large, unblinking eyes. They wore ornate uniforms that shimmered with a metallic quality. "Greetings, Earth delegation," the taller one said in perfect English. "I am Junior Protocol Officer Zinlor. You will follow me to your assigned quarters, where you will prepare for tomorrow's introductory session." Alex displayed her open palms in the greeting Lisa had taught them. "Thank you for your welcome. We are honored to." "This is not a welcome," Zinlor interrupted. "This is a standard reception procedure for observer species. Please follow without unnecessary communication." The humans exchanged glances, but remained silent as they were led through gleaming corridors. Other aliens moved aside as they passed, some staring openly while others pointedly looked away. Alex noticed how some whispered to each other, and though she couldn't understand their languages, the tone was clear enough. They were not impressed by Earth's representatives. Their quarters turned out to be a small plain chamber with 4 sleep pods and a common area. As soon as the protocol officers left, Sam let out a low whistle. "Well, they certainly rolled out the red carpet, didn't they?" Paul was already examining the environmental controls. "These are set for Earth standard gravity and atmosphere. At least they did their homework." Lisa sat down heavily on one of the chairs. "Did you see the way they looked at us? Like we were children who wandered into an adult conversation." Alex remained standing, her posture straight despite the journey's fatigue. "We knew this wouldn't be easy. Humanity is the new kid on the block, and in their eyes, we haven't earned our place yet. According to the briefing materials, there are 47 species in the Council," Paul said. "Some have been spacefaring for thousands of years. Compared to them, we're still figuring out how to walk." Sam shook his head. "Doesn't give them the right to treat us like we're stupid." "No," Alex agreed, "but it means we have to work twice as hard to prove them wrong." She walked to the small viewport that showed a section of the station's central hub, where aliens of all shapes and sizes moved with purpose. "Tomorrow, we'll sit in that council chamber, and we'll show them exactly what humans are made of." Lisa joined her at the window. "And what's that, Commander?" Alex smiled, her eyes fixed on the strange new world beyond the glass. "Curiosity, adaptability, and a stubborn refusal to be underestimated." As night cycle began on the station, the 4 humans prepared for sleep, each lost in their own thoughts about what tomorrow would bring. None of them knew that in less than 24 hours, humanity's place in the galaxy would change forever, all because of a single, simple gesture that no other species would have dared to make. The council chamber was enormous. Alex and her team entered through small doors at the back, their footsteps echoing in the vast space. Curved rows of seats rose in tiers like a giant bowl, with hundreds of alien delegates already seated. "Remember, we're on the lowest tier," Lisa whispered. "Section 12D." Sam scanned the chamber with professional caution. There must be over 1,000 beings in here. They made their way to their assigned seats, aware of the curious or dismissive glances from other species. Their section contained several other observer species, all new to the galactic community. A small purple alien with 6 eyes nodded politely as they sat down. "First session 2, it asked in slightly broken English. "Yes," Alex replied with a smile. "I'm Commander Daniels from Earth." "Delegation from Mithra," the alien said. 3 cycles as observers already. Still waiting for speaking privileges." Before Alex could respond, a deep tone sounded throughout the chamber. All conversation ceased immediately. "The 4,392nd session of the Grand Galactic Council begins," announced a melodic voice from hidden speakers. "All rise for the High Council representatives." Everyone stood as 13 figures entered through a grand doorway on the chamber's far side. Each alien was completely different from the others, representing what Alex recognized as the founding species of the Council. "Middle-tier races may be seated," the voice announced after the High Council members took their positions. The aliens in the middle section sat down. "Observer species may be seated." Alex and her team sat down with the other observers. Senior members remained standing for the entrance of the Apex delegations. The chamber grew noticeably quieter. Even from their distant position, Alex could sense a change in the atmosphere, a mix of respect and tension. 4 massive doors opened simultaneously on different sides of the chamber. Through each came representatives of what Lisa had described as the apex species, civilizations that evolved from top predators and maintained their dominant status in the Council through military power, technological advancement, or economic control. "The Vorn conglomerate," Lisa whispered, pointing to insectoid beings with metallic exoskeletons. "Tech geniuses. They control most of the galaxy's communication networks." Next came hulking amphibian creatures with bioluminescent patterns pulsing across their skin. "The Merce Dominion. They can breathe in almost any environment and have colonized more planets than any other species." The third delegation consisted of floating orbs surrounded by shimmering energy fields. "The Collective Mind. They're a hive intelligence. Nobody knows what they actually look like inside those containment spheres." But it was the 4th delegation that caused the most noticeable reaction. The entire chamber grew still as 4 enormous reptilian beings strode in. They walked upright on powerful legs, their bodies covered in dark scales with ridges along their spines. Massive jaws lined with visible teeth moved slightly as they breathed. Even the other apex delegates seemed to give them extra space. "The Draconians," Lisa said, her voice barely audible, "evolved from the most efficient predators on their world. Their ambassador is named Kizoth." Alex watched as the largest Draconian took position at a special podium. Even from this distance, she could see the dangerous grace in its movements. When Kizoth turned to survey the chamber, several nearby delegates visibly flinched. "Why are they so afraid?" Paul asked quietly. 200 years ago, a delegate from the Trill Federation accidentally brushed against a Draconian during a recess, Lisa explained. The Draconian reacted instinctively. 3 delegates died before security could respond. "And they're still allowed in the Council?" Sam asked incredulously. "The Draconians apologized and paid reparations," Lisa said, "but mostly they're allowed because no one dares to exclude them." The High Council leader, a tall avian being, spread his feathered arms. "The Council recognizes all delegations. Let us begin with galactic security matters." Alex leaned forward, fascinated despite their distant position. She noticed how other species interacted, who spoke to whom, who avoided whom. The entire chamber was a complex web of alliances and tensions that had been forming for thousands of years. And humans were just beginning to find their place in it all. After 3 days of watching council proceedings from their distant seats, the human delegation received an unexpected message. They were invited to a formal reception for all new observer species. "This could be our chance to make some real connections," Alex said as they prepared in their quarters. "Lisa, Any last-minute advice? Lisa adjusted her formal uniform. Remember that many species consider direct eye contact threatening. Try to speak softly, and whatever you do, keep at least 10 feet away from any draconian. Sam checked his appearance in the reflective wall panel. I still think it's strange they invited us. The council barely acknowledges we exist. Maybe you're finally warming up to us, Paul suggested optimistically. The reception was held in a vast chamber with transparent walls that offered a breathtaking view of Nexus Prime below. Hundreds of aliens mingled, creating a stunning display of biological diversity. Floating trays carried strange foods and drinks specially prepared for each species' biology. Alex led her team into the room, immediately noticing the not-so-subtle way the crowd shifted to maintain distance from them. Looks like we're still not the most popular kids at school, Sam muttered. Let's split up, Alex suggested. We'll cover more ground that way. Remember your diplomatic training. Lisa moved toward a group of smaller aliens who seemed less intimidating. Paul headed for a display of technological artifacts, hoping to find common ground with the scientifically minded delegates. Sam positioned himself where he could keep an eye on both his teammates and the room's security. Alex approached a circle of mid-tier delegates who were speaking in the common galactic language. For nearly an hour, they attempted to engage with various species. A few were politely curious about Earth, but most conversations quickly died once the novelty wore off. Alex was beginning to think the entire evening would be a diplomatic failure when a commotion erupted near the center of the room. The environmental control system made a high-pitched whine, followed by a shower of sparks from a wall panel. The lights flickered, and for 3 seconds, the artificial gravity wavered. Most species managed to stay upright, but the sudden disorientation caused chaos and panic. In the confusion, delegates bumped into each other, breaking all protocols about personal space. Voices rose in dozens of languages as security personnel rushed toward the malfunctioning panel. Lisa, who had been speaking with a small amphibian delegate, suddenly found herself separated from the group by a surge of panicked aliens. She pressed herself against a wall to avoid being trampled. As the crowd shifted again, she spotted something alarming. Ambassador Kizoth, the massive draconian leader, had been pushed into a corner. His security detail was cut off by the crowd. The massive reptilian scales were beginning to stand on end, and the ridges along his spine were turning a bright red. His clawed hands flexed, and his jaw opened slightly, revealing rows of knife-like teeth. Lisa recognized the signs from her studies. The draconian wasn't displaying aggression. He was experiencing acute stress. The combination of the gravity fluctuation, the unexpected physical contact, and the sensory overload of the crowded room had triggered a biological response. If Kizoth lost control, the resulting incident could be catastrophic. Delegates who noticed the draconian's state were rapidly backing away, creating a widening circle of empty space around him. Security personnel were drawing weapons. Lisa could see the panic in their eyes. Nobody wanted to fire on a draconian ambassador, but nobody knew how to de-escalate the situation. Without fully considering the consequences, Lisa began moving against the flow of the retreating crowd. She pushed past several startled delegates, ignoring their warnings. Lisa, what are you doing? Alex called from across the room, her voice barely audible over the commotion. Paul spotted her and went pale. She's heading straight for the draconian. Sam immediately began fighting his way through the crowd. I can't reach her in time. The entire room seemed to freeze as they realized what was happening. A human, the smallest, weakest, newest species in the council, was walking directly toward a draconian on the verge of a stress response. Time seemed to slow as Lisa approached the agitated draconian. Ambassador Kizoth's massive frame towered over her, his scales now fully raised and glowing with an angry red pattern. His breathing came in short, sharp bursts that revealed flashes of teeth longer than Lisa's fingers. Security officers had drawn their weapons but held back, paralyzed by indecision. No one wanted to be responsible for shooting a draconian ambassador, but no one knew how to stop the human from what looked like certain death. Lisa, "Stop!" Alex shouted, her voice barely audible over the chaos. But Lisa kept moving forward, her steps slow and deliberate. She had spent countless hours studying xenobiology reports, including what little was known about draconian physiology. What everyone saw as aggression, she recognized as something else entirely. When she was just 5 feet away, close enough to feel the heat radiating from Kizoth's body, she stopped and slowly raised her open palms. "Ambassador Kizoth," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I am Lisa Wright of Earth. Your scales are showing a stress pattern. May I help you?" The massive alien's eyes narrowed, vertical pupils focusing on the tiny human before him. A low rumble emanated from his chest, a sound that sent shivers through every being in the room. "The environmental disruption affected your inner ear balance," Lisa continued calmly. "Your body is reacting to perceived danger, but there is no threat here." To the horror of every watching delegate, Lisa took another step forward. She was now close enough that Kizoth could have swallowed her head in a single bite. "On your world, hatchlings are calmed by touch along the neck ridges," she said. "Would that help you now?" For several heartbeats, no one in the entire chamber moved or breathed. Kizoth's massive head tilted slightly, studying the small human with what might have been confusion. Then, with excruciating slowness, Lisa raised her right hand toward the draconian's neck. Security officers raised their weapons higher. Several delegates turned away, unable to watch what they were certain would be a gruesome death. Lisa's fingers made contact with the raised scales along Kizoth's neck. Gently, she began to stroke the ridged pattern, her touch light but firm. The effect was immediate and astonishing. The bright red glow of Kizoth's scales dimmed. The raised ridges along his spine slowly lowered. His breathing, which had been rapid and harsh, gradually steadied. "That's it," Lisa murmured, continuing the rhythmic stroking motion. "Just breathe slowly. The gravity is stable now. Everything is fine." Incredibly, the massive predator's eyes began to close slightly, his posture relaxing by degrees. The rumbling sound from his chest changed pitch, becoming something almost like a purr. The entire reception hall remained frozen in disbelief. The most feared species in the galaxy was being soothed, essentially petted, by a human, and it was working. From across the room, Paul activated his datapad, capturing the historic moment. Alex and Sam exchanged looks of astonishment and pride. After nearly a minute, Kizoth's scales returned to their normal dark coloration. He straightened to his full height, gently stepping back from Lisa's touch. When he spoke, his deep voice was controlled and precise. "Thank you, human Lisa Wright. Your intervention was unexpected but appreciated." Lisa lowered her hand and gave a respectful nod. "I'm glad I could help, Ambassador." The security team of Draconians finally managed to push through the crowd. They surrounded their ambassador, eyeing Lisa with what might have been confusion or respect. Kizoth turned to address the stunned audience. "The reception may continue. There is no cause for alarm." But the reception could not simply continue. What the delegates had witnessed had shattered centuries of assumptions. Everywhere, beings turned to their neighbors, whispering urgently. Recording devices were reviewed and shared. Within minutes, the news was spreading throughout the station and beyond. A human had touched a Draconian ambassador and lived. More than that, a human had calmed a Draconian in distress using a technique that no non-Draconian had ever dared to attempt. In the corner of the room, an insectoid delegate activated a communication device. "High Counselor, you need to see this. The humans are not what we expected." By the next morning, the incident had spread across every communication channel in Council space. The human delegation woke to find their small quarters surrounded by security officers. "Are we under arrest?" Sam asked as they were escorted through unfamiliar corridors. "Not arrest. Protection," their guard replied curtly. They were led to a private chamber where several high-ranking council officials waited. Among them stood a familiar figure, Ambassador Kazov, his massive form somehow even more imposing in the smaller room. Alex stepped forward. If there's been some misunderstanding. The avian High Counselor raised a feathered hand. There is no misunderstanding, Commander Daniels. We have called this meeting to address the events of last night. Lisa kept her eyes lowered, uncertain whether she had caused a diplomatic disaster. Kazov stepped forward, causing several officials to shift nervously despite themselves. Human Lisa Wright, he rumbled. You recognize my distress when others saw only aggression. How? Lisa glanced up. I studied the available files on draconian physiology, Ambassador. The color patterns of your scales indicated stress, not anger. Kazov's eyes narrowed. Those files are not available to observer species. Paul cleared his throat. I may have accessed some restricted archives while testing the security of our data terminal. Alex shot him a warning look, but Kazov made a sound that might have been laughter. So, humans are both observant and resourceful. The massive draconian turned to the council officials. As I said, they are not what we assumed. The High Counselor nodded, which brings us to the matter at hand. Ambassador Kazov has shared certain information with the High Council. Information that has been closely guarded by the Draconian Empire for centuries. Kazov faced the humans directly. What you witnessed was not an isolated incident. All Draconians experience neurological vulnerability in unfamiliar environments. Our stress responses can trigger aggressive displays that we cannot always control. Alex frowned. You mean, your species' fearsome reputation is based on a biological vulnerability? Precisely, Kazov said. For generations, we have maintained the image of dangerous predators to prevent others from discovering this weakness. We allow others to fear us because the alternative would be to reveal our susceptibility to environmental stressors. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The most feared species in the galaxy had been protecting a secret vulnerability all along. Among our kind, hatchlings are calmed by touch from their caregivers, Kazov continued. As we mature, we learn to manage our responses, but in moments of extreme stress, the primitive brain takes control. No non-draconian has ever attempted to use calming techniques on one of us. Until now. Lisa's eyes widened. I didn't know if it would work. I just couldn't stand by and watch when I thought I could help. An insectoid council member chittered rapidly. This human's actions have revealed a classified biological trait of a council-founding species. There must be consequences. There will be consequences, Kazov agreed, his voice resonating through the chamber. But not the kind you imagine, Counselor Vexilla. He turned to Alex. The human showed compassion where others showed fear, insight where others saw only danger. These are traits the Draconian Empire values. The High Counselor sighed. Ambassador Kazov has formally requested that Earth's status be upgraded from observer to provisional member, with the Draconian Empire as sponsor. Gasps echoed around the room. Species typically remained observers for decades before even being considered for provisional membership. This is unprecedented, Vexilla protested. Humans have been known to the Council for less than a standard year. Kazov's scales rippled. So was their response to a distressed Draconian. The vote will be held tomorrow. He turned to leave, then paused beside Lisa. Your species has earned both my personal gratitude and my curiosity, human Lisa Wright. I suspect neither I nor the Council will look at humans the same way again. As the officials filed out, the human team remained, stunned by this turn of events. Did we just get fast-tracked into Council membership because you petted an alien? Sam asked incredulously. Lisa shook her head, still processing what had happened. I think we just learned that sometimes the most dangerous-looking beings are just trying to protect their own vulnerabilities. Alex smiled. And that compassion might be humanity's greatest strength after all. Word of Earth's possible promotion spread quickly through the station. By evening, the human delegation found themselves the center of attention they never expected. Species that had ignored them just days ago now sought them out. Commander Daniels, call the blue-skinned Marseille as Alex and her team entered the diplomatic lounge. Please, join us. Alex exchanged glances with her team before approaching the table where representatives from 3 mid-tier species sat. We were just discussing the upcoming vote, the Marseille said. Many are surprised by Ambassador Kazoth's support of your species. We're quite surprised ourselves, Alex admitted. A small, furry delegate leaned forward. In 300 years, the Draconians have never sponsored another species. Never. The third alien, with metallic skin that reflected the room's lights, spoke quietly. It makes some of us wonder what else humans are capable of. Back in their quarters that evening, the team discussed the strange new reality they found themselves in. I've received 17 meeting requests since this morning, Paul said, scrolling through his datapad, including one from the Vorn Technology Council. Sam stood by the door, arms crossed. And I've noticed we suddenly have a lot more security. Not sure if they're protecting us or watching us. Probably both, Alex said. She turned to Lisa, who had been quiet since their meeting with Kazoth. How are you handling all this attention? Lisa looked up from her notes. I'm still trying to understand what happened. The Draconians have maintained this facade for centuries, letting everyone fear them rather than risk showing vulnerability. Sounds familiar, Paul remarked. Humans do it too, just on a personal level. A chime at their door interrupted the conversation. Sam checked the security panel and raised his eyebrows in surprise. It's a Draconian aide. The tall, scaled being entered with formal precision. Ambassador Kazoth requests the presence of human Lisa Wright for a private meeting. Lisa looked startled. Now? Yes. Only you. Despite Alex's concerned expression, Lisa nodded. I'll go. The aide led her through sections of the station she had never seen before. They passed through multiple security checkpoints until they reached a large door guarded by 4 massive Draconians. Inside, Lisa found herself in a spacious chamber with higher gravity and warmer temperature than the rest of the station. Ambassador Kazoth stood near a viewport, his scales gleaming in the light of the stars. Human Lisa Wright, he rumbled without turning. Thank you for coming. It's an honor, Ambassador, Lisa replied, staying near the door. Please, approach. My aides say I should not make small humans walk so far. Lisa moved closer, noticing how the room was designed to accommodate the ambassador's large frame and biological needs. Tomorrow's vote is causing quite a stir, Kazoth said. Some council members fear what your species might become if given access to advanced technology too quickly. And what do you think? Lisa asked. Kazoth turned to face her. I think those fears reveal more about the council than about humans. He gestured to a nearby screen where several species representatives were shown in conversation. Already, new alliances form. Some support your elevation because the Draconians do. Others oppose it for the same reason. Politics, Lisa observed. Indeed. Zoth's scales rippled in what Lisa now recognized as amusement. But there is another matter. Councillor Vexala and several others have suggested your actions at the reception were not instinctive compassion, but calculated manipulation. Lisa frowned. That's not true. I know, but they argue that humans are predators of a different kind, using psychological insight rather than physical strength. Kazoth's eyes fixed on her. They fear that a species that can tame a Draconian might be more dangerous than we are. We didn't come here to manipulate anyone. Lisa protested. No, you came to learn, to connect. Kazoth moved closer. The Draconian Empire values strength, Lisa Wright, but we also value truth. Your species showed both when you approached me without fear, seeing past our careful deception to the truth beneath. He extended a massive clawed hand. In it lay a small metallic emblem. This marks you as a friend of the Draconian Empire. Wear it tomorrow during the vote. Lisa carefully accepted the token. Thank you, Ambassador. As she left the chamber, Lisa couldn't help feeling that the simple act of petting a stressed alien had set in motion changes that would affect not just humanity's future, but the structure of the entire council. The morning of the vote arrived with a strange tension throughout the station. As the human delegation prepared to enter the council chamber, Paul pulled Alex aside. "I found something concerning," he whispered, showing her his datapad. "Someone accessed our communication logs last night. They copy our transmissions back to Earth." Alex frowned. "Why would anyone care about our routine reports?" "I don't know, but I've been monitoring council communications," Paul continued. "There's unusual activity around Councillor Vexella's delegation. Multiple encrypted transmissions to ships stationed near the border of Draconian territory." Sam joined them. "I come like this. First everyone ignores us, then suddenly everyone's interested in us. It feels like a trap." Before Alex could respond, their escort arrived to take them to the chamber. Unlike previous days, they were led to a special section reserved for species under consideration for membership. Lisa touched the Draconian emblem pinned to her uniform. "Ambassador Kizoth said some council members think we're manipulating the situation." "Maybe they're right to worry," Paul muttered. "Not about manipulation, but about how quickly things are changing. This is all happening too fast." The chamber filled quickly, the usual murmur of voices now carrying an edge of excitement. When the Apex delegations entered, all eyes moved between the Draconians and the humans, watching for any interaction. Kizoth gave a barely perceptible nod toward Lisa, which set off a fresh wave of whispers. The High Counselor called the session to order. "Today we vote on the petition to elevate Earth from observer status to provisional member, sponsored by the Draconian Empire. As is tradition, we will hear statements for and against this petition before voting." Councillor Vexella rose first, his insectoid limbs clicking as he approached the central podium. "Esteemed colleagues, this hasty promotion is unprecedented and dangerous. Humans have been in our midst for mere days. What do we truly know of them?" His compound eyes gleamed as he turned toward the human delegation. "We know they access restricted files without permission. We know they disregard established protocols about contact with apex species. And we know they have managed to form an alliance with the Draconians with suspicious speed." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Vexella raised a data crystal. "I have evidence that humans possess psychological warfare techniques designed to manipulate other species. Their own military history is filled with deception and conquest. I submit that humans may represent a greater threat than we realize, predators who use words and manipulation rather than claws and teeth." As the counselor continued his speech, Paul leaned toward Alex. "Something's wrong. He's quoting directly from our historical databases, information we never shared with the council." Lisa's eyes widened. "The communication logs. He's using our own reports out of context to make us look dangerous." Vexella's voice rose. "I move that not only should humans remain observers, but that we should restrict their access to council technology and establish a containment protocol for Earth." The chamber erupted in debate. Species turned to their neighbors, arguing fiercely. Alex stood, hoping to respond, but was waved back to her seat by a protocol officer. "Observer species may not address the full council," he reminded her sharply. Sam scanned the room. "Look at the security positions," he whispered. "They've doubled the guards near all exits." Paul checked his datapad and paled. "Commander, I'm detecting weapon signatures activating near Draconian space. Vexilla has ships moving into position. This isn't just about our membership," Alex realized. "They're trying to provoke a conflict between Earth and the Draconians." Ambassador Kizoth rose from his seat, silencing the chamber with his imposing presence. His scales had darkened to a deep, dangerous hue. "The accusations against humans are serious," he rumbled, "and require immediate investigation." He turned to face Vexilla. "As do the warships your coalition has positioned along our border." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The High Counselor looked alarmed. "Counselor Vexilla, is this true?" The insectoid's mandibles clicked rapidly. merely a precaution against unpredictable new alliances, perhaps if the humans revealed the true nature of their interest in the Draconians. Alex watched helplessly as the situation spiraled toward disaster. What had begun as a simple diplomatic mission now teetered on the edge of interstellar conflict. The council chamber had descended into chaos. Delegates shouted accusations while security forces moved nervously around the perimeter. The High Counselor repeatedly called for order, but the revelation about Vex'Alla's warships had ignited too much panic. Alex turned to her team. "We need to act now, or this could turn into a war." "But we're not allowed to address the council," Lisa reminded her. Paul looked up from his datapad. "Unless we're formally challenged. According to Protocol Section 27B, if our species is directly accused, we have the right to respond." Without hesitation, Alex stood and walked purposefully toward the central podium. Security moved to intercept her, but Ambassador Kazoth made a sharp gesture that froze them in place. "I invoke right of response under Council Protocol 27B, Alex announced, her voice carrying through the chamber. The unexpected declaration silenced the arguing delegates. The High Counselor looked surprised but nodded. "Protocol recognizes Commander Daniels of Earth." Alex faced the assembly, feeling the weight of thousands of alien eyes upon her. "Counselor Vex'Alla has accused humans of manipulation and deception. He claims we are predators hiding our true nature." She paused, looking around the chamber. "He's partly right." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Even her own team looked startled. "Humans evolved as persistence predators on a world full of dangers," Alex continued. "Our ancestors used cunning and cooperation to survive. Our history includes war and conquest, as I suspect does the history of every species in this chamber." She gestured toward Kazoth. But Counselor Vex'Alla missed something important. What happened between Ambassador Kazoth and Lisa Wright wasn't manipulation, it was recognition. Alex nodded to Paul, who projected an image onto the main display. The now famous moment when Lisa had petted the Draconian. "Look at this image. Really look at it," Alex urged. "What do you see? Not a human controlling a Draconian, but two beings recognizing something in each other." Lisa saw past fear to understand Kazoth's distress, because humans understand vulnerability. "We live with it every day." She turned to face Vex'Alla directly. "Humans aren't just predators. We're prey too. On Earth, we weren't the strongest or fastest. We know what it means to be afraid, to hide weakness behind displays of strength. Just like the Draconians." Ambassador Kazoth moved to stand beside Alex at the podium, an unprecedented show of solidarity. "The human speaks truth," he rumbled. "Draconians recognized in humans a kindred understanding, not because they are predators like us, but because they comprehend the duality of strength and vulnerability." Kazoth activated his own datapad. "As for Counselor Vex'Alla's accusations, we have proof that his coalition accessed human communications illegally and positioned warships with the intent to provoke conflict." The evidence appeared on screens throughout the chamber. Communication logs, ship movements, secret meetings. The council watched in stunned silence as the conspiracy unfolded before them. Vex'Alla's mandibles clicked in agitation. "This proves nothing. Humans remain dangerous. They could charm their way into our most secure facilities, just as they charmed the Draconians." Lisa stepped forward to join Alex and Kazoth. "We didn't charm anyone. We simply saw you as you are, not as we feared you to be." The High Counselor raised his feathered hands for silence. "I have heard enough. This council will not be manipulated into conflict by fear. Counselor Vex'Alla, your delegation is suspended pending investigation." He turned to address the entire chamber. "As for the petition regarding Earth, we will vote now." One by one, the council members registered their decisions. When the final tally appeared, a cheer rose from many delegations. Earth had been granted provisional membership by a substantial margin. The High Counselor nodded to Alex. "Commander Daniels, please accept the council's formal welcome." It seems your species has much to teach us about seeing beyond appearances. As they left the chamber, Lisa looked up at the massive draconian walking beside her. So what happens now, Ambassador? Kazoth's scales rippled with what she now recognized as amusement. Now, human Lisa Wright, the real diplomacy begins. The galaxy will never be quite the same. And that may be exactly what it needed. In the weeks that followed, the image of a small human gently petting a fearsome draconian became a symbol throughout Council space, a reminder that understanding often begins when we look past fear to recognize ourselves in the unlikeliest of places.